Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. 60 card Swordsoul is an abomination of cards that has been brought to us by the wonderful OCG players. As you can see here, we are on Road of the King. If you don't know what it is, it basically goes over a bunch of the meta in the OCG, and this is what they have given us. Now, this is currently in the Ashit or the Kashtira tier, post-Kashtira limitation, post-tier limitation ban list world in the OCG. So the meta is a bit different, but I thought, hey, why not give it a try in Master Duel to see what works and what doesn't, since it's very similar in Master Duel right now. We still have the tier stuff, we have access to a lot of this other stuff, and when we don't have access to Triple Tactics Thrust, we can make adjustments. And why 60? Well, 60 is notable because it allows us access to a myriad of tech cards, most notable additional copies of Triple Tactics, Triple Imperm, Triple Valor, Triple Ash, Triple Maxi, etc., etc. The list goes on all of these different tech cards that we can throw in, while also giving us additional engine pieces, right? We can max out on all of the good tennies and even throw in a Shithana, at least in our build, because we only have the 2 long one, to allow us an additional just additional monsters, right? So basically, we're not losing any consistency while also gaining access to more tech cards and the ability to draw an additional set of those tech cards. It also gives us the ability to play Triple Protoss, which, if you didn't see my last video on Swordsoul, yeah, Triple Protoss is actually very good. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the definitive way to play in a best of 1, but in a best of 3, it's very, very powerful, because if you know what your opponent is playing and you just call that attribute, yeah, they're just kind of dead, right? Protoss is a powerhouse of a card, and it's currently at 3 in Master Duel, as well as in the OCG. So that is kind of the basis behind this. So let's quickly do the card by card, starting off with the Tenyis. We're playing Triple Adhara, Triple Vishada, and Triple Ashana, as well as the 1 Shithana. Again, we would be playing Triple Long One if we could, but Shithana does come up occasionally as well. So there's that. As for the Sword Souls, we're maxing out on those as well. Triple Moye, Triple Taya, Triple Ecclesia, which is a pseudo Sword Soul, and then the double long one as well. Again, we'd play 3 if we could, as well as the Triple Emergence. Oh, I also forgot, we're playing Vessel of the Dragon Cycle, maxing out on that, and then we're also playing the Heavenly Dragon Circle. We're playing 2 of those. Those 2, as well as the Harpy's Feather Duster, as well as the 1 Pot of Desires, are instead of the Triple Tactics Thrust. We don't have Thrust in our game as of yet, so that's what we're playing instead, is the Heavenly Dragon Circle and the Harpies. Harpies is just nice in a best of 1. Sometimes you draw it, sometimes it, wins the game. And it's never really that big of a brick, so there's that. We also have access to Triple Pot of Desires, so we're also playing that. Then, of course, 3 Protoss. This is why we are basically playing this. Being able to not consistently draw Protoss, but having multiple of it in the deck to potentially draw into it as a follow-up, or as, if you draw into it off of the Qixing into Qixao line, or what have you. Yeah, Protoss is just a powerhouse, especially in a meta where it is dominated by Ishizu tier, and you can call Dark and just kind of turn off the entire deck. It's very nice. So there's that. As for our tech cards, as I mentioned, we are playing a ton of them. We're playing Triple Valor, Triple Maxi, Triple Ash, the Triple Tactics, which I shouldn't say it that way, but hey, 3 Triple Tactics, the Triple Imperm as well. And that's basically it for our tech cards, but we have a lot of access to them due to Pot of Desires, as well as drawing additional cards off of things like Moye and the Qixing. We're also playing ourselves, of course, the double called by and the 1 crossout, because it's very strong. And then the last thing of note is the Triple Blackout. This is also very notable because, hey, drawing it isn't that bad, especially since a lot of things need to have a Sword Soul name, and in 60 you do still want to see it. And again, because we're playing things like Pot of Desires, playing multiple is very nice. You can banish it, you can pop back row, drawing it is never really that bad of a thing. So yeah, all in all, very strong. Moving on to the extra deck. Our extra deck is obviously very different from their extra deck because they also have the Kashtira cards to deal with, and so, playing multiple of, additional Qixaos, additional Barons, stuff like that is more advantageous for them. However, it's not really as advantageous for us, so instead we're playing 1 Yazi, we're playing 2 Baxia, we are playing the 1 Draco, 1 Dragite. I think they aren't, no, they're playing that one. Yeah, we're playing the 2 Qixao instead of the 3. Honestly, I don't even think the second one came up ever. Maybe the second one did. But yeah, there was no world in which I wanted the third one, so there's that. We have the one Baron, the one Chengying, and the one Qixing long one. Yeah, most of the time I actually ended up summoning this guy. The reason for this is because it happens to do very well both against tier and flunder and stun decks and stuff like that. Being able to banish something like a SnowiK is very powerful. Being able to banish a field spell is also very powerful. Being able to banish a special summon monster just in general, hey, that's pretty nice. And on top of that, normally what I would end up doing is I would make this first with like a long one, being able to search that out off of Emergence or something like that, and then make the Qixing after to draw an additional card so that then I could have an additional tech piece, you know, something like an Imperm or a Triple Tactics or a Called By or another Hand Trap or what have you. So that's why I mostly summon this guy. So yeah, there's that. I actually don't think I ever summoned Baron. I think I summoned Chengying like once. Like, this guy was just always there. Very powerful card. And then we have a Psychic End Punisher in here as well as our last synchro. The reason for this guy, with a 7 and a 4, or one of the tokens, we are able to make him, which is very nice. Sometimes there are like corner situations where it's like, well, I just need to kind of get things off of my field, and this is a great way to do it. And then you just kind of be like, okay, can you out my Psychic End Punisher? If you can't, great, fantastic, I win. So there's that. It's just kind of like a big bungus to make your opponent like waste their battle phase, and then potentially you have follow-up. Then we're playing triple monk because we are playing a lot of Tenyis, so I like to have the 3 monks, and then we are playing the 1 of shaman. So that's the deck. Let's hop into the duels and show you how this deck performs. Alright, so here we are going first, and we opened a pretty decent hand. So we're going to start off with the Adhara here, and then we are going to link it off for our Monk of the Tenyi. This will then allow us to tribute it off in order to misclick and special summon long one. Look, I'm supposed to add it to the hand. That is just a simple misclick. If I add it to hand, I can go Adhara into the Qixing, which is what I originally wanted to do. But instead, we are going to go for the Moye. We're going to activate the Moye, reveal the Adhara into in our hand, and then go for Moye to go for the Qixing. I'm going to activate the Qixing here, and I'm actually going to or I draw into the Moye, and I'm going to go for the Emergence here because we do have the ability to go for Protoss, so of course we're going to go for the Protoss. We're going to go banish 1, 2, 3, and then go for Protoss, call Dark, and then pass the turn. We still have a pretty decent field, that being Qixing, Protoss, Blackout, Infip. It's not bad. My opponent is going to reveal that they are on Swordsoul, or not Swordsoul, Kashtira, which is totally fine. They're going to activate a whole bunch of cards. They do have the ability to just summon a myriad of monsters here, so there's that. So they're going to do that. They're going to summon up a whole bunch of things. They're going to go for the Crime. They're going to go for the Sheeran, and yeah, go from there. They're going to go in and go into Baguska, not in defense. Had they gone for Baguska in defense, I guess it does make sense since they're probably suspecting either Blackout or Infip in the back row, so it does make sense not to really go for the Baguska in defense, but they're going to go for Zeus here. So out comes the Zeus. They're going to then go into Exciton Knight. Now, if you don't know what this card does, if your opponent controls more cards than you, including the cards within your hand, then you can nuke the field. However, they have 7 cards to my 6, including the card in hand, to my 5 cards. So, Exciton Knight just doesn't do anything here. They're going to normal summon the Rhinoheart, which is totally fine, but I'm going to go for the Blackout. I'm actually going to pop my long one. I don't know why I do this instead of, you know, popping the Protoss, but alas, there you go. And we deal with the 2 back row. This will then trigger the Zeus in order to give it an additional material. I'm going to negate it with the Qixing. It's going to activate its effect, and then I'm going to negate it with the Imperm. No matter what, I'm still going to have to negate it. It probably would have been better to wait for it to actually get the material and then activate its effect, which at that point we could negate it twice with the Qixing and the Imperm, but alas. We also banish the Blackout so we can grab ourselves a token so that we, you know, can activate like the Ashana and stuff like that. Now they do have shufflers, but they just choose not to use them to deal with my Ashana. So there's that. We draw Called By for turn, which is very funny, and then we can go for the Shithana. This is where Shithana comes up, and now we can activate the Baxia, spin away that troublesome Exciton Knight, and then they only have 1 shuffler, so I'm just going to activate my Called By to deal with that 1 shuffler, as it is the problem. They're going to shuffle away some of our cards, but notably, they get rid of a whole bunch of things, which is problematic. But hey, we get a normal summon the Adhara and go into Monk. We're gonna then activate our effect of the the spell card here to grab up a Tenyi. We're going to grab up the Tenyi. We're going to go for the Adhara here. We're going to activate the Adhara to grab back the Moye. Now, we've already normal summoned, but that's fine. We can just link off into Shaman here. And then Shaman will allow us to go Moye into the Moye. And then activate the Moye, reveal the Vashada, and grab up a token. At this point, I activate the Vashada to bounce away the Zeus, which then gives us well over lethal with Draco Berserker. My opponent realizes the game is over and concedes. Alright, so here we are once again going first with a bit of a wonky hand. Luckily, we do have Taya with Emergence, which means even if it gets negated, we still have the ability to do something. I actually end up grabbing the Moye, and I'm like, okay, I can do something with this. We're going to go Moye, reveal the Taya, and then go in for the Qishou. We're going to activate the effect of the Qishou in order to grab up the long one. But, oh, look at that. We happen to draw the long one, so we don't actually need to grab it. So instead, we're going to grab up the Sacred Summit, because we do have the Taya. We're going to pitch the Taya and go for the Qishou, which then allows us to go for the Qixing. We're then going to burn them for 12, activate our effect of the Sacred Summit to bring back the Taya. We're going to banish one of the spells in order to grab up our token, and then go for a Dragite. Now, notably, this doesn't trigger the Sinister Sovereign, but that's okay. We're going to set the called by and pass. Alright, let's see what my opponent can do. So they're going to start off with the Mudora. They're going to activate the effect of the Mudora. They're going to dump a card and then go for the Scream. Scream effect is going to be negated, which will then trigger the Havness, which we will then Ash. Yeah, don't really want to deal with Havness. They're going to normal summon the Rhino Heart, which I will promptly negate, and then realize, oh no, they're going to make Baguska. Oh no, it's way worse. It's Exciton Knight. Out comes the Exciton Knight. I'm going to banish that. That's fine. They're going to activate their effect in order to nuke my field, because they have less cards and both on field and in hand than the cards on my field. Had I just activated my called by and immediately dealt with their back row, this would not have been the case, but alas, hindsight, right? They're going to shuffle away cards. Most notably, they shuffle away the Ashana, which means if I were to draw into a Tenyi, it would kind of have to be the Ashana here. But yeah, let's see what we can do. Well, my top deck has to be Protoss. Even Taya doesn't necessarily do it due to the fact that if I normal summon the Taya and activate its effect, they get to go for the Havness here, which then becomes way problematic. So yeah, I just kind of have to get rather lucky, and I draw literally the best card off of the top of the deck in Protoss. So I'm going to banish 1, 2, 3 and go for Protoss. Protoss called Dark. They're not even going to activate the Havness. I'm just going to go to battle and deal 25. Hilarious. I just wanted to show you guys that sometimes you just top deck Protoss, and yeah, having access to triple Protoss makes this a lot more likely. They're going to go for the Merly and mill Agito, which is nice, but alas, they can't really do anything else. They kind of needed to see Scream so that they could go for the Soliac there. So, yeah, there's that. We also milled a Protoss, which means that now if this is a called by, they can now deal with the Protoss. Hey, look at that. It is a called by. Luckily, I am 100 over lethal with just normal summon Ecclesia, not activating any effects, and just proceeding to battle. My opponent concedes, realizing the game is over. A very weird game, but very funny. Alright, here we are once again going first. Look, you like going first. It's pretty simple. And most of the going second games were pretty mid, where it's just like Hand, Trap Central, or Maxi, or what have you. So that's why. We're going to go start off with the Ashana in order to go for the Monk, and then we're going to search out the Moye and go Moye reveal Blackout. I don't know why I decided to reveal the Blackout, but I did. Then we can go for the long one and go into the Qixing long one, burning them for 12, and then go into the Qishou. This will allow us to go Chainlink 1, Qishou, Chainlink 2, Qixing, Chainlink 3, Moye, allowing us to draw 2 as well as search a card at the end of that. We draw into the triple tack as well as the Maxi, which is very funny. And then we can go for the Ashana here to grab up the Adhara, and then go for the second Monk. We'll then trigger the Adhara in order to grab up our Ashana, just to have it in rotation, since we can't really get either the Moye nor the long one into rotation. We're going to activate the Maxi to play around the triple tack, and my opponent is going to reveal that they only wanted to draw 1 card off of that pot of Extrav. That must have been a misclick, I'm sure of it, because, yeah, they're going to reveal that they are on Flunder. So, cool. They're going to go for the Robina here, and then they are going to activate the Dimensional Fissure. That's totally fine. I'm guessing that this is a bait, seeing as how they probably already have the map, and that's why they activated the Dimensional Fissure first. So yeah, out comes the map. I kind of realized that. Burn them for 12. They're then going to activate their Advent of Adventure. Chixiao's right there, right? Like, so I think the reason that they did this was because I think they forgot that map is at 1, and they can't search map here. So, oops. They're going to search out the Eaglin and normal summon the Robina, to which I will just promptly negate it, and yeah, they concede. Cool. The thing is, though, even if they had gone for a second map, I would have just popped it, so not like that's doing them any good. Yeah, that game was well over. Alright, here we are again, starting off with a pretty good going first hand. Now, I do want to preface this by saying Master Duel does something that nothing else really does, specifically in paper, where it basically gives you the ability to tell what your opponent has due to the delays that are available to you. So, for example, if immediately at the start of the duel something is flashing, your opponent has something, you probably know that it's something like Maxi, or Thunder Dragon Dark, or Gizmecha Orochi, or something along those lines, right? Something that is always activatable. Lancia, I think, is also something like that, right? So you can kind of tell, hey, if I don't have an effect monster on my field, it's got to be Imperm, right? If, you know, etc., etc. And you can kind of tell what your opponent has. So, because of this, I did end up making a play that I wouldn't normally. So do keep that in mind. You can go check out my stream. It's towards the end. I think it's the last duel that I have. So you can go and check that out. Anyway, we're going to start off with the Adhara, the Ashana into the Adhara, into Special Summon the Vishada. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of guessing that it's Imperm, but I'm not really going to change much of my plays. Okay, they still haven't activated anything, still nothing. And here is where things get different. I go for the Emergence here to search out Protoss. Now, normally, a better play would have been to go for a long one. But because at this point I had deduced that it's Orochi in my opponent's hand, I go for the Protoss. Because I'm like, I really want this triple tactics to be active so that I can get a look at my opponent's hand and see what's happening. And so I decided to go for the Protoss play. I'm like, okay, they probably have something that is a Dark, and if I go for the Protoss, I'm going to call Dark. They're not going to be able to activate it. They're not going to be able to summon it, and they don't want that to happen. So what they are going to do is activate a monster effect, allowing me to go for triple tactics and look at my opponent's hand. That is exactly what they do. They fall for the bait, and yeah. So yeah, I ended up normal summoning the Ash here to get enough attributes onto my side of the field, and we get a look at their hand. And look at this beauty. Macrocosmos, Kaiser Colosseum, Grand Maju Duraiza, Orochi, as well as Pot of Desires. And I had just normal summoned Ash. So of course, I'm dealing with the Pot of Desires. Everything else is totally fine. We have Chixiao to negate the Grand Maju, and we can call Dark dealing with this Orochi. So I'm feeling pretty confident here. So yeah, we're going to deal with the Orochi there, and then just pass the turn. Again, they don't really have anything, and seeing the Dimensional Fissure, I know they literally have nothing to deal with my board. And they do the worst play, where they actually end up attacking at all. Had they just not attacked, I would not have won in the next turn. But alas, they decided to attack to force out that negate, because it's so necessary to... I don't know. I obviously have enough negates, so that's just kind of silly. I go for the Dark call here, because if I don't, they can just summon the Orochi, to the which I then can't OTK. Whereas, again, I can just make this guy 0 with the Chixiao and win the game. So, yeah, just kind of funny. Hey, this is good against Grand Maju, if you know it's coming. Granted, that Pot of Desires could have been anything, so hey, that would have been way worse for me. Anyway, there you go. Good game. And we're back with the deck, and I'm honestly surprised with how well this performed. It performed very, very well. Having 60 cards to kind of dilute a lot of the other bricks, quote-unquote, or the cards that you don't want to see as often, was very nice. You still were able to see basically full combo. You were able to search out a lot of the cards. You know, having access to Vessel and Emergence and Heavenly Dragon Circle was all very nice. Triple Tactics is probably the... I don't know, it's very good when it works, but sometimes your opponent just doesn't have anything, and then this card doesn't do anything, so there's that. However, it's very good going first and going second, so it's just an overall worthwhile card to play. I will say that though this deck is very expensive, it is very fun. I wouldn't suggest necessarily playing this over a 40 card version, because I do believe that a 40 card version is better for a best of one. But as for testing and as for just having fun, this is very, very entertaining. So if you have these cards, might as well play it. As for just the rest of this, honestly, why are we not playing Grass? Well, because it's not actually all that good in this deck. Sure, you could get access to Protoss, but, like, who cares, right? Like, Grass really doesn't do anything else for us other than giving us a way to summon out Protoss, but again, that's not really too necessary. You could end up milling a lot of cards that you actually end up needing, like, for example, Taya, Moye, etc., right? Long one, which is much more difficult to get them out of the grave than it is to get them out of the deck, so there's that. Sure, you could, like, end up sending a blackout, which then would allow you access to, like, normal summon Taya and stuff like that, but again, it's not really too necessary. You normally have other plays as well, and yeah, that's basically it. Why play Grass when you could play 2 more Triple Tactics or the Heavenly Dragon Circle to deal with Imperm and stuff like that? All in all, this is a very, very entertaining deck. The other thing, why are we not playing Chao Feng? Chao Feng just kind of sucks right now. It's not very useful. The only thing that you're able to do is lock your opponent out of activating light monsters, which, again, isn't really all that advantageous since, you know, no one's playing Nibiru. Or any light monsters, for that matter, just due to the current meta. I guess it locks out, like, Exo Sister, but who cares? If you're going first, you're probably beating Exo Sister anyway, because if they summon anything, you just get it with Chisho, banish it with Qixing. Like, there are a myriad of options. Even if you have Protoss, you could then call Light and just lock them out that way. Tons of options. Anyway, so that's going to be it. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, like us very much, so appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.